Since the beginning of Battle Shonen, there have been many characters who stand on the high podium of victory. Most of the time it usually ends up with our main protagonist taking the win, and unfortunately, it also affects other characters' growth. Over the years, Yamcha has been the constant punchline of the weakest fighter in anime, but I believe I found a character with the all-time worst win rate out of every single character in Japanese media. The anime, Shokugeki no Soma, aka Food Wars. Home of anime's biggest loser, Megumi Tadokoro. Also, if you're curious why I'm using the model this time around for an anime analysis video, in all honesty, I don't really get to use it as much, besides streaming, but I think it was kind of appropriate for this kind of video. Other than that, if you want to see my animations in action, be sure to check out me on Twitch. Anywho, back to the video. Megumi comes from a small village in the Tohoku region, where her mother ran an old Japanese-styled inn. Though she wanted to stay in her hometown working the family business, her mother insisted she attend Totsuki Academy. Though her mother believed in her skills, Megumi suffers from massive amounts of anxiety when cooking for elite chefs, and was on the verge of expulsion. She then later met our protagonist of the series, Yukihiro Soma, and he gave her the confidence to take on the academy and show her what she was truly made of. Unfortunately, the anime never gave her a proper chance to gain said confidence and throws all her character growth in the trash. And what do I mean by that? Simple. What truly makes Megumi our unfortunate defeatist comes from her sad track record in Shokugekis. Though she made it through many tough trials throughout the many high school challenges in Totsuki, these Shokugekis show the true lost potential we missed out on in Megumi's growth as a character. And I'm not including the match against the Aldini brothers, as that was more Soma-oriented. Unfortunately, that does lead the following matches. Starting with the Shokugeki against Shigemichi Kumai, the only Shokugeki she has ever won, and it was all off-screen. Her next Shokugeki was against Kojiro Shinomiya. Though this was technically a challenge made by Soma, Megumi was the head chef of the competition, where she technically lost 3-0, even with Soma as her sous chef. Due to technicalities, this ended in a draw. Her next couple Shokugekis come from the Totsuki Autumn Election, where she made it past the qualifiers, only to lose in the quarterfinals. Though this next Shokugeki was also far more insulting, as Soma was making a team to go against the 10 seats of Totsuki Academy, and Megumi only got to have one Shokugeki in that tournament, against 4th seat Momo Akagane Gakupo, a really strong pastry chef, but still a toddler. Yeah, you heard me right, a main protagonist character lost to a frickin' toddler. The last few Shokugeki she's a part of are actually part of the time skip in the final arc of the series, and unfortunately thanks to Shonen Jump's misguidance, the entire arc was completely rushed, with her final few Shokugekis being against a random hiker from an evil chef underground. Yes, that is a thing that actually happens in this anime. Her next Shokugeki was against Koshio, another evil underground chef, who Megumi defeated to enter yet again into another qualifiers. And the worst Shokugeki she was a part of was against Asahi Saiba, who is Soma's evil adopted brother, / main antagonist of the series, who completely decimates Megumi 3-0. Also, he could face off against Soma in the semi-finals. And remember, this was her final Shokugeki in the entire series. This leaves Megumi with a total score of 3 wins, 4 losses, and 1 draw. Even if we did include the Aldini brothers match, it would still be a draw, meaning she'd only still have 2 draws in total. Meaning her only wins in the entire series were from a mandatory qualifier win for the tournament arc, 2 wins from minor characters, one of which happened off screen, and the rest of her matches where she had to always go against main characters, twice being against the arc's rival / major antagonist. To make matters worse, she has the most loses out of every character in the series. Though to be fair, besides Soma, every other side character had a max of 2 Shokugekis, compared to Megumi's 9. It got so bad it even affected her ranks in the fan polls, where she started as the 3rd fan favorite, but in the end dropped down to 5th, losing to f***ing Hisato Arato, Arena's secretary who's practically a minor character. Now here's the real question. What ruined Megumi Tadokoro? Why does Megumi have such a terrible win rate, besides poorly thought out writing from the series author Yuto Tsukuda? It could be from a variety of things, but I believe there are 2 things that ruined her as a character. The first was a major problem with the anime issue of over-adding new characters from the series. Food Wars was originally a cooking battle royale, where only a small handful of students would have graduated by the end of their third semester. The author abandoned this major plot by the final arc of the series, probably due to many sudden cancellations of popular Shonen Jump series by Jump, and why most characters throughout most of the cast don't really have any personality besides the specific running gag. No joke, most of the Polar Star dorm add nothing to the series after the autumn election, and could have been written out and no one would care. With tons of characters getting a spotlight during certain events, it made it hard for Megumi to stand out in the crowd, especially when a new character shows up and becomes the major rival of the arc for Soma to face at the end. Which leads us to the second and most major issue with this problem. The protagonist himself, Yukihira Soma. Hear me out on this one. Soma throughout the entire anime has been growing and trying to better his cooking through the series run, and one of the reasons I don't like this anime is because how it mostly makes the protagonist the one to solve everyone's problems. Obviously, he's the main character, so it makes sense he would stand at the top near the end. But there is a right and wrong way of giving your cast the spotlight. When Yukihira and Megumi teamed up to face the Aldini brothers, most of the spotlight was on the brothers and Yukihira. Megumi was thrown to the sidelines, showing how much the writers cared a little too much for specific members of the cast. Or, when Megumi was in charge of the match against Shinomiya, it wasn't Megumi understanding her untapped potential and trying to improve herself as a chef, it was Soma overshadowing her growth. And the most insulting was her final Shokugeki against the main antagonist Saiba, where her dish didn't even get a single reaction from the judges, showing how OP Saiba was and completely obliterating all of her character growth from the time skip, all because Saiba was going to face Yukihira next in the semifinals, ending Megumi's character arc by not even giving her a proper win. Megumi is a character I feel was robbed of proper character growth, but after seeing her constant defeats, I noticed something important about how others now see her. Like myself, I judge her by her weakness and inability to grow, but after every defeat, Megumi was given respect for her skills. Though she officially lost her Shokugeki against Shinomiya, the match still resulted in a tie with one of those points given by Shinomiya himself, showing his respect towards her care and hard work for her dish. Though she lost to Momo, it was still 2-1, and in silence, Momo respected her skills as a chef. Another major character of the series, Irina, said to her that she had the strength to be a high-class chef, and all she needed was more self-confidence. She was not only given the 10th seat in Totsuki Academy, and she was one of the only other students from Totsuki to compete in blue. Not only that, she had a higher score than Soma. And if the series were to have a proper graduation arc, I'm sure Megumi would have been the select few to actually graduate from Totsuki, being filled with tears of success and confidence. I made this video not to riff on the writing of Food Wars, or how bad of a character's win rate was in tournaments. Megumi is actually one of my favorite characters from the series, as she's one of the more characters that are more level-headed and more down-to-earth. I didn't like how the series treated her so poorly by not giving her a proper victory, but I think that's the point. Megumi Tadokoro is a character you're supposed to relate to the most. She might start off as the weakest member of the group. She's a character who's well respected by not only her peers or her friends, but even her enemies. Megumi Tadokoro isn't anime's biggest loser, but in my opinion, anime's biggest underdog.